Hello, Jolene.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the How to Concerts virtual showcase. Special welcome to all of our fabulous clients that are watching. And if you are new, we are your How to Concerts team. My name is Jolene Chevalier, and I am the owner and lead talent buyer for How to Concerts.
And I'm Jake Ostro, and I'm a talent buyer and now the lead virtual technician for How To Concerts.
So our lives look a little different than they used to. Normally, at this time of year, we are advancing dozens of fall shows for folks. We are booking travel to travel across the country to conferences and shows. And obviously, it looks different right now. So instead of doing that, we're working really hard to create virtual experiences and events that can keep communities engaged, because that's what we're all trying to do. So whether you are here with your campus, or you're with an organization or a corporation, there's no better time than to get creative and try to create programs that foster connections. So as we go through things, remember to post questions in the chat. We're trying to monitor that. We have all these different screens going, but we'll try to address your questions, or we'll get back to you about your questions. So we'd like to start off by talking about our what we can do for booking virtual national headliner concerts and celebrity Q&As. So if any of you are interested in booking kind of a larger scale virtual concert, one question that comes up is platform and streaming software. So as you can see, we're using some specific technology here today. So Jake, can you tell us a little bit more about the technology behind what we're doing, and maybe show off some of the things you've been working on for how people could customize a national level virtual concert?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is kind of fun because I'm usually in the background running things. I'm not usually also talking. So forgive me if this looks a little clunky, but we're working through it. This is the first attempt at radio host and virtual event host. But throughout the last couple of months, we've been working really hard on finding different virtual platforms. And that's not just the Zooms and the Twitches and the YouTubes of the world that actually host your site, but it's also streaming software that allows you to create an image sort of like what we have right here, right now, and send it to those different platforms. So we've worked really hard on figuring out some free solutions. We have some a little bit more in-depth, expensive solutions that we can work through that are just like softwares that we have to purchase ourselves and organize. But there's so much out there that allows you to build the stream that you want, and we can get so creative with it. So for example, if we want to free ourselves from the rectangles, we could go like this, and we could say, hey, look, me and Jolene are in circles now. Hello, Jolene, welcome to the circle. Or if you wanted to do something, this is a really, really cheesy example, but say you went on campus and you had green screens and you had people dance for an upcoming event, we could insert green screen people onto it. So here's some people dancing, super cheesy, but it's just showing that there are options that you can do to kind of jazz up a virtual stream, right? So it doesn't always just look like Zoom boxes. But every event is going to be a little bit different, and what we've really focused on is not just making it look good, but also sound good. So we have a big focus on platforms that allow you to use studio or lossless sound. We want to make sure that we have access to plugins so that I can be a studio monitor and make quick adjustments if you need to add reverb, or if you need to adjust noise gate on somebody's microphone so you don't hear their cat in the background or something. We're working through all of that. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're working on, but there are just so many options. And I don't know if a lot of you caught it recently, but I just want to give a shout out to the Bash Schuler team. We did their showcase recently where we compiled 3 days. There were like 18 artists and videos, and there was live music, everything in between, plus hosts. So we designed that, and I ran it from right here in my living room / kitchen / workspace. So it's been really fun, and we would love to talk to you and figure out some options that would work really well for your virtual events.
Yeah, we're definitely working hard on getting creative to create more engagement because everyone wants to know how they can differentiate themselves against any free live stream they can take in on the internet. So that's why, Jake kind of came up with people could be in front of green screens and dancing. If somebody wanted to create a montage of a bunch of different videos or things that can not have audio and just be shown at the same time as an artist is performing, that's also an option. So we can really get creative with this and really talk through what are your goals of your event and what do you want to get from that. We've also done a few celebrity Q&As, and those can happen on Zoom or other platforms because really the audio isn't quite as important in a Q&A as it would be in a music performance when you're mixing different sounds together. So we can discuss how that would work, but that one's a little bit more simple in terms of tech.
Yeah, and you can still utilize platforms like this as well when you're going into Zoom. Like for the Bachelor Showcase, for example, I built it all in this system and sent it into Zoom. So there are ways to make those a little bit more unique. They have positives and negatives of doing things like that. Like the people that are actually guests on the show aren't seeing the chat in Zoom, so it's harder to interact and pull people up if that was something that you were looking for. But again, we can work you through and talk through those solutions and options based on the event goals that you have.
For sure. And because, full transparency, because we're normally middle agents and we usually base our fee off of the artist guarantee, there is a fee involved with our services, which we try to base, again, off the artist fees that you're booking in the national hemisphere. So we can talk more about that, but it's the typical 10% middle agent fee is what we're charging. And we're reasonable people and we want to talk about how to make these good because we want things to last, and we want artists to have work, and we want people to have engagement opportunities and performance spaces. So that's kind of what we're doing with the national entertainers. But many of our clients or other folks do not have the budget, frankly, for national level entertainers, and sometimes just have other goals in mind and need something specific. So we came up with a few connection building programs that we thought were really important to help communities engage.
Yeah, and we work with a lot of college campuses who are rightfully very interested in having conversations about social justice and inclusivity. And as a former student affairs professional, I recognize that a lot of those resources on your campus can be limited. You tap them a lot. Maybe you want some different perspective, or it's just challenging to get a hang of them right now because they're so busy with all of the departments on campus.
Yeah, so we contacted our good friend Craig, who is an ethics professor and regular presenter about race and matters of social justice. And he came up with a really great lecture and discussion program called Creating Communities Where Black Lives Matter, Pandemic Edition. So we had a chance to talk to him earlier this week. Actually, you're going to see a few videos of programs today because we wanted to be respectful of everyone's time. So we took a couple recordings of chatting with these folks for you. So let's meet Craig. Hi, Craig.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good. Very good. Happy to be enjoying some of the slower pace of the summer and getting excited for the school starting in the fall and excited for the work that has been going on. That's been very rewarding this whole summer. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you so much for jumping on a call with us today. And we're so grateful and excited that you're willing to have conversations with campuses and organizations across the country. And, together we kind of came up with this great virtual program titled Creating Communities Where Black Lives Matter, Pandemic Edition. And we can't wait to hear more about this program, but can you just start us off by telling us a little bit more about yourself and your background?
Sure. So my name is Craig Ford. I am originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, most recently from New York before I moved out here to Wisconsin. I live in Green Bay, where I am a professor at the nearby St. Norbert's College, and I teach in the theology and religious studies discipline. I do a lot of courses based in ethics. My own research engages questions of the Catholic moral tradition, ethical traditions more broadly, as well as questions around gender, race, sexuality, and what our vision of a good society is. Pretty much anything that makes people, like anything that's off limits during Thanksgiving conversations is pretty much what I actually study all the time. And so that's what I really enjoy working on. And then I just bring a big community organizing background. When I lived in Boston, which is where I did my PhD, I did a lot of work in the community there for racial justice causes, gender justice causes as well, and continued that work in New York, where I led a lot of workshops based on anti-racist commitments within faith communities, as well as gender justice, justice for all people, regardless of sexual orientation or other types of identities. And we've tried to, that's been a lot of my work since, up until I became a professor. And now I've tried to integrate that, of course, into the work that I do as an instructor.
Awesome. I bet your students, it's a lot. I bet your class is a lot, but it's also, I bet they leave that class feeling, like they really learned something, and it's probably very fulfilling for them, even if it is a lot of deep thinking. So we're so fortunate that we got to know you, and we're so glad you moved to Green Bay. But regarding this virtual program, we've discussed how this program can be best as kind of a two-part program, where the first focuses on a small group conversation, and then the second part of the program is a more broader, more community-facing event. So if people like the two-part program idea, can you tell us more about what the first part of the program would entail, and maybe what questions would you ask, and who would be a part of those first conversations?
Yeah, I guess one way I would get to answer your question is this way. All of us who work in higher education are facing three different, I think, but very challenging realities. So one has to do with the fact that we are in a global pandemic, which in many places around our country is exacerbated. And so there are questions about reopening and what that means safely, given that we all are vulnerable to the virus, but exist within different types of vulnerabilities based on our backgrounds and where we come from and the types of skills and preparations that we have. So that's one. Another big constraint, right, is that schools have to open, right? Our students want to be on campus, and many of our colleges need to open to continue to offer that sort of education for years beyond. And so that's another big factor, right? We are reopening in the middle of a pandemic, and those are two big things that take up a lot of our time, right? But then, and I think this is probably one of the most important things that we have going on in our country right now, is a renewed concentration on what it means to embrace an anti-racist mission within all of our institutions. And I think that all three of those contexts can initially appear very overwhelming. And we're all trying to think, how can we do all three of these things really well, right? I try to frame it as, how do we act virtuously in the situation, recognizing the major constraints that we have? And I think part of what the two-part program does is it acknowledges, yes, all of us have a goal of becoming an anti-racist institution, but by breaking it up into two parts, we recognize that all of us are at different points and are at different contexts when we think about what it means to embrace that commitment and what it means to establish certain goals that get us to that point. And so what the first part really is designed to do is to say, okay, we all have this anti-racist mission, but what does it look like, particularly within my community, right? Every community is different. Every community's resources is different. And even though we all might share the goal, the question is, where are we? Where is our location? Where is our student body? Where is our faculty and staff training? And the first part of that conversation is supposed to orient, really to help me get to know what it is to do anti-racist work in this particular context. And I think that's what makes it more valuable than just attending like any other webinar or any other resource, because they all share the goal, but the question of how it relates in the here and now, that's something that that I think this first part does really well. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. What are maybe some examples of like a question that you would ask the smaller group, and who are the folks that can give you an idea of what that particular campus might look like or community?
Sure, right. So I would love to talk to anyone who wants to talk to me. I mean, that's a pretty, so broadly speaking, I'd love to hear what college administrators who deal directly with students, right? I mean, obviously, to a certain extent, we all do, right? But what do they think about, you know, if three things could change in your institution in terms of pursuing an anti-racist mission, what would those things be? And I think that question being asked to administrators, being asked to faculty, and then being asked to students gives me a great vantage point, not only on the commonness of the goal, but also on the concerns. And I think that's like one sample question that one could ask, right? But I'm really interested in teams of people, perhaps people who have been dedicated to this work more broadly, and who might just want to be in conversation with someone like me who's done this work in other contexts. I'm also open to people who are saying, we know this is an important moment. How can we rise to the occasion that this is demanding of us? So the idea is that it doesn't be a huge bar to entry to be able to have this conversation. It's just to really say, okay, like, what do we want to see happen? How can I see this environment, and how can we transform it in ways that get us to this goal of this anti-racist community?
Yeah, Craig is just a wonderful person, and he is available for small group trainings or like a one-time discussion for 1,650, and then the two-part assessment program is 2,200. And he loves the assessment program because it's a little bit more in depth. So naturally, as an ethics professor, he would rather dive in deep and go for it. But it depends what you're looking for. So he's available now until about mid-August, and then from mid-August to early September, he's really getting prepped for figuring out his own hybrid form of online and in-person classes. But then after that point, like after mid-September, he's also available then too. So he's great. Moving on to another really popular program we have a virtual cook-along cooking class with our chef, Jyll Everman. It's nearly impossible to not have you can't not have a good time during this class. Jyll is fun. She uses simple ingredients, simple cooking methods, and her policy is MITG, make it taste good. So she has 3 menus to choose from. So this is a really great series program. And so we also think it's really good for kind of a hybrid event because people end up cooking together. So we love when this is done on a Zoom call or WebEx Teams or something where people can actually gather and put themselves on camera, because then everybody's actually cooking along, and it's fun to watch people unmute themselves and say, Jyll, do I put in the butter yet? And it's fun to watch that. So we've seen people cooking with their families or with a team of 1 or 2 other friends. So it makes a really good hybrid, really interactive event. So we wanted to just kind of introduce you to Jyll so you get a sense of her great personality. So we have a little clip for you. All right, we have Chef Jyll Everman here, lead chef of Gather on Broadway in Green Bay, Wisconsin. She was a finalist on season 7 of Food Network Star, so she is no stranger to the camera, and she's been leading so many virtual cooking classes for us. So hi, Jyll, and tell us how these classes have been going and what's really been your favorite part.
It's really kind of been the highlight of this time right now. It's been so much fun. I've gotten to see so many great people and cook with so many different age ranges and groups of people that it's just been so much fun. I've loved it. I've loved having so many people in my kitchen through the computer.
Awesome. And we've really enjoyed how people are actually turning on their cameras and cooking along with you. What is your favorite part of watching people cook together with their families or alone or with a friend or 2?
I think it's great. I think so many people are so into cooking now that they have some extra time and they're at home a lot more. So I love seeing students or families or just groups of people cooking along with me and asking questions as we go along. And my favorite part is by far at the end when they hold up their plate and they're all excited about it. You see all the screens are all pointing at their food. I love it. It's so great.
Awesome. So we think that this is a great way to connect. And we think these classes are going to live on long after COVID is gone, because you can't always have an expert chef in your kitchen. So this is a really cool way to invite you in. And I learn something new every single time I watch a cooking class with Jyll. So we'd like to kind of give you a little demo. And Jyll, show us what a class is like. Can you chop something for us or cook something for us today?
Yeah, so I'll send my recipes ahead of time so you can go grocery shopping and get all of your stuff. And then, for instance, I'll tell you, hey, grab your onion. All right, let's learn to properly chop an onion. Okay, so first of all, you're going to take off both ends just like that. And I'm going to watch on the camera, watch everybody do it, make sure they're holding their knife correctly, show them how to hold their knife. Go ahead and cut that in half and give it a peel. I think a lot of people have no idea how to properly chop an onion. So you take my class, you will be an expert by the end. I make sure that it is very easy for anyone to chop an onion. So once you have both of them peeled and good to go, the lines on the onion are going to tell you what to do. So make sure those lines are looking at you, right? They're facing you. Now I'm going to cut down those lines. We're going to create little cuts here down those lines. But here's the trick before you do it. The trick is I am leaving the end intact. Right here, I'm leaving that bottom intact, so that way it helps hold the onion together. Give it a quarter turn, keep your fingers out of the way, and just cut straight down. And now you've got a beautifully diced onion. And I'm going to, and everybody at home, when you're cooking with me, now is when I say, all right, guys, get your frying pan ready here. Let's start heating it up while we cut the second half of that onion. We're gonna heat up a little bit of oil in there, so grab your oil. Get a little zhuzh in there. And now let's do the second half, all right? So again, the lines are looking right at you. Go ahead and cut straight down those lines. Give it a quarter turn, right? And straight down. And now we're letting our pan heat up, because here's a tip, guys. You never put anything in a pan that's not screaming hot, okay? If I were to put onions in here and they made no noise, they're going to get greasy. They're going to soak up the oil. Blech. It's not what we're looking for here. We want to hear a big psh coming out of the pan. That's just going to get you beautifully caramelized onions. So we'll finish up our onion here. Put that to the side. Let this get nice and hot. It's not there yet. I can already tell. And that's kind of a little snippet of what you would see if you were to book me for a cooking class. And you just get to cook along, and then you can ask questions as you go. So, with that being said, I hope that you are able to join me here in my kitchen from Green Bay. I am ready to teach all walks of life how to cook, whether you're great at it, whether you're not so great at it. I got room for you here in my kitchen. So hopefully I will meet you here.
Yeah, Jyll is a good friend of ours, and she's been so wonderful to do these cooking classes. She does prefer Mondays through Wednesdays only because they also run a wedding venue, and they're hoping that weddings, can happen even if lower capacity. But anyway, she's a little bit busy on the weekends, so weekdays are easier. But ask us about any date, and we will see what we can do to make it work. So that program is $600 total for the class. Screaming deal. You are responsible for setting up a Zoom link, or she can also go live on Facebook or Instagram if you prefer that. But the Zoom is more fun because then people cook along. But they get their own groceries. We provide grocery lists. We provide recipe cards, so they have those for afterwards to keep. And this is just a really great opportunity also to provide resources in the chat about your local food pantry or other food resources in your community. It's a really good partnership like that. So happy to connect with you about that program, as that's definitely one of our most popular because it is so interactive. So we also have the ability to do classes with some other chefs or some famous chefs, but Jyll is obviously a wonderful option.
All right. So the next artist that we have to show you is one I'm actually really excited about because I just happened to be browsing the virtual space and came across this really interesting class with an artist named Sliney. He offers drawing classes, and he's an artist behind Marvel's Spider-Man and Star Wars, among others. And he's willing to share his drawing skills and expertise with your students and your audience. And it's really cool. He'll cater it to be what you want it to be. He'll work with your campus mascot or logo or a general superhero. He'll go through techniques, and he'll take questions throughout about his work. And so we have a commercial for him. He actually is expecting a newborn. The last email we got from him, he was in the hospital, so he made up a quick little video for us. So here it is.
Hey, I'm Sliney. I'm one of the world's leading comic book artists, working for the likes of Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, England's Premier League, and many other major brands. I'm looking to take teaching art from this to something like this, a much clearer and more modern method of showing how to draw. This is an example of a class that I did for Marvel, where I had 1 hour to teach viewers how to draw Iron Man. The way I do it is I'll break it down into very, very simple steps. I start with what looks like a stick figure, something that's nice and simple that everyone can draw, build up simple shapes to create the anatomy, and then start to actually draw the figure over it. I go into more advanced details then, like line weights, shading, how to use light, how to show form. But most importantly, I like to keep them interactive, so if people have questions, because we're live, I'm able to react on the fly and to bring in things that people want to see. So for here, a perfect example is that people really wanted to know how to make the armor look shiny. They wanted to know how I use line weights to create depth, things like that. So it's that interactivity that's key for me whenever I'm doing one of these classes. So, a little bit more about me. For the last 8 years, I've drawn characters such as Spider-Man, Deadpool, I've drawn Galactus and Silver Surfer, the Avengers. I've pretty much drawn 100 comic books for Marvel. For the last 2 years, I've been working on Star Wars, most recently with the critically acclaimed Rise of Kylo Ren. And just before that, I was part of the team that helped create Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
We're here at Doc Undar's shop with the creators of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge comic series, Ethan Sachs and Will Sliney. We're going to take a look at some of the props that you guys actually helped tell the backstories for. This little guy here shows up in the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge comic. Can you tell me a little bit about that story?
One of my favorite things about being a part of this series is getting to add a backstory to something like this. When you read the comic, you'll learn so much more about what this baby Sarah can do. Even though it's not what you see in episode 6, this thing is lethal. So it was a lot of fun to draw, but it's even more fun when you get into Doc Undar's den and you get to see it in person. A few years ago, I dipped my toe into teaching art when I created the Learn How to Draw app, which had over 1 million downloads. When the lockdown started, I sent out the first We Will Draw tweet encouraging people to draw. It exploded, it grew really, really fast, and I ended up teaching some online art classes. These in turn were featured by the BBC, the New York Times, Vogue, GQ, the Sunday Times, pretty much everywhere around the world. RTE swooped in then, where I produced a daily How to Draw class from home, obviously under COVID conditions. Welcome back everyone, I hope you've been practicing your drawing. My name is Will, and I'm here to teach you that absolutely everybody can draw. And starting just as recently as May, I've been taking over Marvel's YouTube and Instagram doing some how to draw classes there. So that's it. I'm really excited about this class. I think it's something really, really special and I can't wait to teach it.
All right. So hopefully you all are as excited about that as we are. I know that he actually has inspired me to draw a little bit. I've used my Galaxy tablet. I haven't told Jolene that fun fact yet. But yeah, I think he's really great, and we think that he's going to be awesome to work with, and we think it's going to be an amazing program for students or companies outside of the higher ed world and everybody in between. So Will's drawing class is $1,000. We think that's super affordable, and it takes about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. And we can host that through a variety of different platforms. So as you can see, he seems to have the streaming pieces down, so it will be a quick plug and play sort of tech fix to get it going.
Yeah, super excited about that. So now we want to show everyone a little bit more about one of our most popular programs for virtual programs, and it's Virtual Bingo. We've done a bunch of these, especially with some famous drag queen bingo callers from RuPaul's Drag Race, and these events have been so much fun. We've expanded this now to celebrities and comedians and other callers as well. So mainly because Jake here found a way to make this program super accessible, as well as just easy to put anybody into that caller role. So, Jake, can you tell us a little bit about how the program works and what it looks like?
Yeah, totally. So, as far as a platform is concerned, we like this the best over Zoom. We tried a couple of different platforms as we were sort of starting the idea out. And we like Zoom normal meetings, not webinar, because then you can have people actually unmute themselves and yell bingo when they've won. But then it also allows the host to interact with that person and give them kind of a unique opportunity to talk to a drag queen or a famous celebrity or something like that. So we think that's really awesome. I run the actual bingo number callers from the back end, so to make it easy for the host and for the school. We have schools get bingo cards from a website called bingobaker.com, which has a $15 lifetime membership, so it's super cheap. And we haven't had any issues with that platform, so it seems quite a bit more reliable than some of the other options. But let me just show you, we took like a quick little video of Jolene and Luke playing bingo with me as the bingo window caller. So here we are. So this is sort of what it looks like in Zoom. And obviously Luke and Jolene are having the best time faking playing bingo, which is amazing. But the caller window is what the host can pin. So I'll show you a view of that. So the host generally pins the caller window so that the host can interact with people. This is what it would look like if you pinned the host. So Jolene was the host there. But in the background, I will be controlling the caller window, so I can reset the board and start a new game when we're ready to do that. So we think that it's a really fun way to interact with your participants. It can be really cheap or more expensive depending on the budget. Fits kind of everything. So yeah, we're excited about it and we're having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, like we said, we've done a lot of them with famous drag queen callers, and those range from about $16.50 to $38.50. But we have a list of probably 30 queens in that range, and we've worked with everyone from a bilingual Puerto Rican queen that called bingo basically in Spanish and English simultaneously. We've done a bunch with Alexis Michelle, Latrice Royale, Shea Coulee, and many more. So we just have a quick note here from one of our favorite queen callers.
Well, hi, it's Alexis Michelle. I'm having so much fun calling bingo, and I would love to call the numbers at your next virtual bingo session. I'll do a song, do a twirl, a little lip sync, tell some jokes, and we will play some bingo. Oh, and I can't forget, I just couldn't do it without Bingo Jake. Thanks, Bingo Jake. Love your balls. See you soon.
All right, we love Alexis. They're so great at hosting drag bingo, and they inspired me after I created myself Bingo Jake to create an Instagram account, which I never update, but I will at some point at Bingo Jake Official. But it's super fun, and Bingo Jake has kind of become this man behind the curtain to make fun of and like interact with. I never say anything or interact back, so I'm just kind of like this mysterious figure, which is it's fun. So we really enjoy that, and we really like working with Alexis.
Yeah. But like we said, we've worked with a number of wonderful different drag queens. And if you prefer a comedian, we're happy to provide options for different price points, influencers, celebrities. Basically, there's a lot of people open to this when we show them how easy we make it. You know, all they have to do is pin the call. And really, the most special part about this is, yes, you're getting a bingo game and it's fun to play, but you're also getting a Q&A with that personality because they're answering questions from the chat throughout the whole thing. So it's a super great, fun way to incorporate a Q&A with a good personality. You know, so we actually have some people that are making good on some cancellations that they unfortunately had in the spring by bringing comedians or other folks in to call the numbers for bingo for a fall event virtually. because it's not a virtual stand-up set. You know, it's something a little bit more engaging and less awkward, perhaps. So we have a lot of fun ideas for that. So the prices, like I said, range. They're all over the board. So ask us for what could fit into your budget.
Yeah, and if you can't afford a personality but want help with bingo, we're open to that as well. So if you have a student or a staff member or something, reach out and we'll help you organize how to make that work. As far as the games are concerned, you get through about 6 games in an hour generally, depending on the engagement, like how many questions are being asked and how chatty our host is that evening. But just to make sure you're checking in on this, every state has different bingo gambling laws. So if you're giving prizes, a lot of people are giving gift cards or swag bags from their campus. Just make sure that you're checking in to make sure that your campus laws or your in-state laws are similar, can be transferable to the virtual space as well.
Yeah. And again, these are also an additional opportunity to post information about your organization or various resources your community has available. It's just one more opportunity to have fun, but also like don't forget about the importance of getting resources out to people, putting links in the chat, just making sure we're providing connections and as many resources as possible to everyone. So basically, that's what we're trying to do is help connect people. Oh, and we also talked about, some people are asking how to make bingo into a hybrid event and can people be in person? That's not a problem, but because Bingo Baker allows you to pull up the cards on any device, you can just pull it up on your cell phone. So you could have people technically in a space playing together, as long as you have somebody that's able to interact with the caller and make sure they know if somebody yelled bingo, oh, hey, we have a bingo in room B over here. Hang on, let's verify the card. So we can kind of talk through how a hybrid event would look, but overall, chat with us about it. And we definitely have learned a lot about bingo.
More than you would ever expect.
Right. I mean, Bingo Jake now has a Twitter following, probably. So, but overall, we just want to emphasize that we've been working really hard to come up with engaging programs and just make your life easier. Our policy at How to Concerts has always been, how can we make events run smoothly? And we can still do that, whatever the event is. So I, first of all, just want to thank Jake, because I am not the virtual technician of this team. He definitely is. And I just appreciate everything he's done over the past couple months, because you're learning so much.
Yeah, it's been super fun. It was a really bizarre pivot at first, going from airplanes every day to sitting at a desk for several months straight. And quite honestly, I think I saw you more in the spring than I ever thought I would in the rest of my career combined. So it's crazy how much we got to interact, and it's been a really great experience. But as far as the tech is concerned, I'm always learning. If you have a crazy idea and you're like, we don't know how to do it, let me figure it out, I would love to. I'm a problem solver by nature, and so this has been really fun for me.
Yeah, we love talking to people about, like you said, problem solving and talking about how we can make something more and more engaging. So we'd love to work with you on your next virtual event. Please reach out to us at the email addresses that you see right here. And we'd love to work together and think positively and keep artists and speakers and other folks working. So thanks for joining us. We look forward to connecting and talking about lots of different programs, the ones you saw here, and dozens of others. Like, let's get creative. Let's talk about it. Let's see what personalities we can book events with. So thanks for joining, and hopefully we'll talk soon.